Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva. Nrsimhavamana Srimadusudana Brajendra Nandana Shama. Putana Ghatana Kaitava Shatana Jaya Jasharati Rama. Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara. Gopi Priya Janna Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora. Ravanata Karama Kanataskara Gopi Jana Vastrahari. Prajera Rakala Gopa Vrinda Palo Chitahari Vamshitari. Jogindra Bandana Shinandanandana Rajajana Bayahari. Navina Nirara Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamshi Vihari. Yashoda Nandana Kamsani Sudana Nikunjara Savilase. Kadamba Kanana Rasaparayana Vrinda Vipina Nivasi. Ananda Vardana Premani Ketana Pulashara Jojakama. Gopanga Nagana Chitta Vinodanda Samasta Guna Ganadama. Jamuna Jivana Keliparayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Nam Sudarasa Gal Krishna Jasa Rako Vachana Manamora Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Namashrishtam Anumapi Shati Putramatra Sarupam Shirupam Tasya Grajam Urupari Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivadamoho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi He Guru Gyanadadina Bando Swananda Data Koranaika Sindo Vrindavana Sina Hitavata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dinabando Koranaika Sindo Kuru Prasadam Aimandamude Laksha Parade Bahupapagade Tatpada Padme Sumatishta Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Sarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kunda and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a doleful and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore, grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us a shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Kahati Sadma. Bando mui savadana mate. Bando mui savadana mate. Jahara prasade bhai bhavato riya jai. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoy te. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoy te. Guru mukha padma bhakya chittete ko riya aikya. Guru mukha padma bhakya chittete ko riya aikya. Anakori ho mane asha. Anakori ho mane asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttamagati. Shri Guru Charane Rate Eshe Uttamagate. Jai prasade pure sarva asha. Prasade pure sarva asha. Chakudan dilote janme janme Prabhu she. Divya gyan hre pokashita. Divya gyan hre prakashita. Prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasa jate. Prema bhakti ja hoite avidya vinasa jate. Virigai Jahara Charito Virigai Jahara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha Mure Padachaya Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha Mure Padachaya Ebe Jash Kushukti Bhuvana Ebe Jash Kushukti Bhuvana Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya De Amore Parachaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyabadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Nitai go Haribo, 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 Nitai go Haribo. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privraj Gajajashtotar Sadishi Shimad Abhay Charanara Vinda Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stottara Shrimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Zikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Haribo. Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, Krishna. It's hard to get at it, anything now. I'm caged in. Hare Krishna. Do you remember the third one? Hope I do. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Naba Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Jaya Kunja Bihari Janna Balaba Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Janna Balaba Jaya Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. We're continuing our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Could you look it up in there, please? Canto 2, Chapter 5. We're taking up where we left off last night, unless that was a dream, text number 6. Hare Krishna, thank you. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And what's the double part? Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. It's good to try to get a Hare Krishna tune stuck in your head. Because then if an anvil falls on your head when you're walking down the street and you're singing, Hare Krishna, Hare... I saw it once, it's not funny, but when I was driving to the airport at LAX, one day there was a huge traffic jam. Couldn't understand why that would be on the day I was going, but it turned out that someone who had purchased a brand new Volvo, which consumer studies show most people buy for safety because it has a really strong steel grid around it. So if you get they call it T-boned, you get hit in the sides, then you don't get crushed. Hare Krishna. And so they were doing construction on the upper level, and one of the cranes let loose, and the anvil came through the roof, and unfortunately killed the passengers while they were least suspecting it. There's no warning whatsoever. So there's padam yad vipadam. At any step we take in this life, there's danger, because our life here is tenuous. There's an echo somehow coming. I don't know where it's coming from. Pardon me? Oh, okay. So we're continuing the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a discussion between Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, and the topic is the cause of all causes. This is text number 6. Text number 7. Sabhavan akurad koram yattapa susamahita tena keda yase nastvam parashankam chayachchasi. Yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities in perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. So it's actually a conversation between Narada and Brahmaji. So Narada is the son of Brahma. There's something going on there. There's a recording or something playing. And unfortunately, it's my voice too. There's something. Okay, if you don't know the owner and it's locked, just put it in a bucket of water. $501 fine. Okay, purport. Following in the footsteps of Sri Narada Muni, one should not blindly accept his spiritual master as God himself. A spiritual master is duly respected on a par with God, but a spiritual master claiming to be God himself should at once be rejected. Narada Muni accepted Brahma as the supreme due to Lord Brahma's wonderful acts in creation. But doubts arose in him when he saw that Lord Brahma also worshipped some superior authority. The supreme is supreme, and he has no worshipable superior. The word ahangroho pasita, or the one who worships himself with the idea of becoming God himself, is misleading, but the intelligent disciple can at once detect that the Supreme God does not need to worship anyone, including himself, in order to become God. Ahangro pasana. May may be one of the processes for transcendental realization, but the ahangropasita can never be God himself. No one becomes God by undergoing a process of transcendental realization. Narada Muni thought of Brahmaji as the Supreme Person, but when he saw Brahma engaged in the process of transcendental realization, doubts arose in him, so he wanted to be clearly informed. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Nina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just this morning, Prabhupada, on the lecture I heard, was speaking about how you can notice that every living entity aspires to follow some authority. He said even in the animal kingdom, for instance, dogs, they look for the alpha dog. It's like, okay, he's the guy. And then you see with street dogs, they'll come up to the, submit themselves. They roll on their back and like make themselves vulnerable. It's like, all right, you can kill me if you want, but I want to join your gang here. And then you've got bees that have a queen bee, ants. I haven't looked into it that carefully. I don't claim to be an entomologist, but I dare say ants have some kind of structural leadership. Entomologists, you can speak up. Mostly engineers in here. Okay, so then in human society, people form organizations based on a king, a queen, a government, someone to follow. And so he said the nature is there within the soul to follow some authority. So then this is an important inquiry that can lead to a revelation. Like if you keep following that authorized line up, where do you end up? There must be, logically, some cause of all causes or supreme authority who's the authority, the ultimate authority. This is the implication of the questioning that Narada is making here. And it's a simple way to think about it, and that the dharma, or the eternal nature of the soul, is to serve somebody. And there's discord when I have the sense that I don't want to serve. I want to be served. But if I can find out the person who's worthy of service, and then actually give my heartfelt service very purposefully, then, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, bhoktaram yagitapasam, that if you give that willful service towards the center and the ultimate authority, then it's perfectly given. And the result will be gyatmamam shantimrichiti, then no more discord. You feel completely satisfied and happy. Text number 8. My dear Father, you know everything, and you are the controller of all. Therefore, may all that I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me, so that I may be able to understand it as your student. Purport: the inquiries made by Narada Muni are very important for everyone concerned, and as such, Narada requested Brahmaji to deem them suitable, so that all others who may come in the line of disciplic succession of the Brahma Sampradaya may also know them properly without any difficulty. Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead. Brahmaji, being so questioned by Naradaji, congratulated him, for it is usual for the devotees to become very enthusiastic whenever they are questioned concerning the Almighty Personality of Godhead. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. What's the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord? Yeah, when there's a good question about the Supreme, then they become enlivened. Like, here we go. Such discourses on the transcendental activities of the Lord purify the atmosphere in which such discussions are held, and the devotees thus become enlivened while answering such questions. It's important purport if you just note it down as far as questions go. It goes in the questions book. It is purifying both for the questioner and for one who answers the questions. The pure devotees are not only satisfied by knowing everything about the Lord, but are also eager to broadcast the information to others, for they want to see that the glories of the Lord are known to everyone. Thus the devotee feels satisfied when some opportunity is offered to him. This is the basic principle of missionary activities. Whenever you have spoken about me, it is not false, because unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities. So again, Narada is speaking to Brahmaji, who's a sub-creator. He's empowered by Krishna, and because of his prowess and manifesting through mantra, somebody could say, oh, it must be the Supreme. In fact, Hiranyakashipu, when he did his austerities and Brahma came, he addressed him as the Supreme. All his prayers are in that form that you're the ultimate. You can do anything you want. And Brahma's like, it's not me. Purport: the frog in the well. Logic illustrates that a frog residing in the atmosphere and boundary of a well cannot imagine the length and breadth of the gigantic ocean. Such a frog, when informed of the gigantic length and breadth of the ocean, first of all, does not believe that there is such an ocean. And if someone assures him that factually there is such a thing, the frog then begins to measure it by imagination, by means of pumping its belly as far as possible, with the result that the tiny abdomen of the frog bursts, and the poor frog dies without any experience of the actual ocean. Similarly, the material scientists also want to challenge the inconceivable potency of the Lord by measuring him with their frog-like brains and their scientific achievements. But at the end, they simply die unsuccessfully, like the frog. Sometimes a materially powerful man is accepted as God or the incarnation of God without any knowledge of the factual God. Such a material assessment may be gradually extended, and the attempt may reach the highest limit of Brahmaji, who is the topmost living being within the universe and has a duration of life unimaginable to the material scientist. As we get information from the most authentic book of knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmaji's one day and night is calculated to be some hundreds of thousands of years on our planet. This long duration of life may not be believed by the frog in the well, but persons who have a realization of the truths mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita accept the existence of a great personality who creates the variegatedness of the complete universe. It is understood from the revealed scriptures that the Brahmaji of this universe is younger than all the other Brahmas in charge of the many, many universes beyond this, but none of them can be equal to the personality of Godhead. Naradaji is one of the liberated souls, and after his liberation, he was known as Narada. Otherwise, before his liberation, he was simply a son of a maidservant. The questions may be asked: why Naradaji was not aware of the Supreme Lord, and why he misconceived Brahmaji to be the Supreme Lord. This was a question that came last night, remember? Although factually he was not. I'll read that over. The questions may be raised, may be asked, why Naradaji was not aware of the Supreme Lord, and why he misconceived Brahmaji to be the Supreme Lord, although factually he was not. A liberated soul is never bewildered by such a mistaken idea, so why did Naradaji ask all those questions, just like an ordinary man with a poor fund of knowledge? There was such bewilderment in Arjuna also, although he is eternally the associate of the Lord. Such bewilderment in Arjuna or in Narada takes place by the will of the Lord. so that other non-liberated persons may realize the truth and knowledge of the Lord. The doubt arising in the mind of Narada about Brahmaji becoming all-powerful is a lesson for the frogs in the well, that they may not be bewildered in misconceiving the identity of the personality of Godhead, even by comparison to a personality like Brahma. So what to speak of ordinary men who falsely pose themselves as God or an incarnation of God. The Supreme Lord is always the Supreme, and as we have tried to establish many times in these purports, no living being, even up to the standard of Brahma, can claim to be one with the Lord. One should not be misled when people worship a great man as God after his death as a matter of hero worship. There are many kings like Lord Ramachandra, the king of Ayodhya, but none of them are mentioned. Okay. There are many kings like Lord Ramachandra, the king of Ayodhya, but none of them are mentioned as God in the revealed scriptures. To be a good king is not necessarily the qualification for being Lord Rama, but to be a great personality like Krishna is the qualification for being the personality of Godhead. If we scrutinize the characters who took part in the battle of Kurukshetra, we may find that Maharaj Yudhishthira was no less a pious king than Lord Ramachandra. In my character study, Maharaj Yudhishthira was a better moralist than Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna asked Maharaj Yudhishthira to lie, but Maharaj Yudhishthira protested. But that does not mean that Maharaj Yudhishthira could be equal to Lord Ramachandra or Lord Krishna. The great authorities have estimated Maharaj Yudhishthira to be a pious man, but they have accepted Lord Rama or Krishna as the personality of Godhead. The Lord is therefore a different identity in all circumstances, and no idea of anthropomorphism can be applied to him. The Lord is always the Lord, and a common living being can never be equal to him. Gita Pri, can you look up anthropomorphism, please? This is easier to hold, but this is easier to see. It's a 2.5.11. I'm sorry? What did Bali Prabhu say? 2.5. 2.5.11. Anthropomorphism for 500, please. Little help from the tech team.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Anthropomorphism, it means the attribution of human characteristics or behavior to
Attribution of human characteristics
or behavior to a god, animal, or object. And okay, one sec. And so it itself is derived from the Greek anthropos, which means human, and then morphe, which is form, and then it went to anthropomorphism.
So give us a summary in your own words of what the concept means, please. Keyword is attribute.
I think it's just like how we... Okay.
I know it's a tough concept. Anybody else want to give a shot? Anushree? Okay, Prabhu, go ahead.
Relating God to the human, relating human tendencies to God, actually. Thinking of him as a human being.
Right, so we're saying that because we're humans, it's a human-centric idea. We're humans, and therefore we say, well, God must be like us. But it's the other way around. He's like that, and we're emanations from him. And therefore, we have characteristics like hands that you can say are godlike, but it comes from that source, not the other way around. Anything else? Okay. Is it on the SAT? It will be. It was, right? Okay. Be ready. Anything else? Any other reflections before I move to the next? Yes.
I like the question which came, which was yesterday, and the answer was same, which you gave yesterday and today in the purport. And I have a question. So
the question yesterday was, why is Narada asking Brahma these kind of questions? Doesn't he know? Isn't he liberated? And Prabhupada answered that just like Arjuna was a pure devotee, he was liberated, but he was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra so he could ask questions for the benefit of everybody else. It was a setup, basically. So Narada also is acting in such a way as an instrument so that this information can come out, because it's a question. Like if you're standing talking to a devotee and then somebody who doesn't know the context comes up, you start all over again and say, so, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that means that the original source of everything is personal. And somebody might say, like, why is he talking like that to that person? Isn't it obvious? So it's not obvious.
Thank you. But the question I had was about, like it was mentioned about moralist. So I had this question for a while, like what moralist means, like a devotee, how much moralist should he be, like truthful? Should he be truthful, like, if thief comes and he's, he should give, money is there, like that truthful, or how much truthful a devotee should be? Can you please?
Yes.
Moralist.
We should be truthful and moral, except if Krishna tells us something different. So one example that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave, or Rupa Goswami rather, that let's say that the devotees are walking by and somebody's drowning. So you could say, well, he's not his body, that's his karma, let him drown. But then people would see, like, okay, these people are spiritual, they're not doing anything. So should they go and risk their lives to save the person? And Rupa Goswami says yes, because otherwise people will look at the devotees and think, like, what's wrong with these people? In fact, there was a case in Australia around 1970, and the devotees were near a burning building, and there were people trapped up there. And so they arranged to pull the canopy that they were using for a festival, taut, T-A-U-T, across to make it into a virtual trampoline. And so the person was able to jump out of the burning building and land on that, and they caught, and it was on the front page of the newspaper, that the devotee saved the person from a burning building. And that this was, Prabhupada appreciated the devotees went out of their way to save somebody. But on the other hand, it's not our duty to then start a company where we have trampolines and we have a radio open 24 hours a day. Are there any people burning in buildings? Can we go save them? But incidentally, when things happen like that, then we should, for example, go out of our way to help. I'm always especially attentive to that when I'm walking around in these kind of clothes on a plane or something like that. Lift people's bags, put them up for them, and so that they just see there's a kind of caring mood amongst those who are in our organization. Did that answer your question?
some was-
Ultimate morality means to follow, Krishna's instructions. So Yudhishthira, on the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna wanted something done. He wanted to move the battle forward. And therefore he told Yudhishthira, who never lies, he's the perfect moralist, he said, you lie. Because there's no way that Dronacharya is going to give up the fight, and there's no way he's going to lose unless he hears that his son, Ashwatthama, is dead. Then he'll feel unmotivated to fight. And Yudhishthira hesitated, and therefore there's a fault. Because Krishna said, you lie, that's the ultimate morality. Then Krishna made some arrangement for him. So just say Ashwatthama, the elephant. So he did that, and that was a workaround. But he could have just followed Krishna's instruction.
So, but Krishna will not tell me, right? So, what spiritual?
You got to hold that really close when you have
sorry.
a mask, otherwise you can't hear.
So, Krishna will not tell me personally. So, what spiritual teacher tells, that is what then one should do. Is that correct understanding?
Well, you have to weigh these things according to the what I said earlier. So another example was, it's in the same realm of understanding how to move about in the world. So sometimes in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's mutt, there were devotees that were asked to come home for a particular kind of ritual, like someone had passed away. And so he didn't deny them that opportunity, because he said, if you don't go, then the people in your family will think that they don't understand it, and therefore they'll think you're just uncaring. They don't understand that there's a higher principle. Devarshi bhutatna nrinam pitrinam na kinkaronayam nrinicharajan sarvatmana yasharanam sharanyam gato mukundam prihritikaartam. And that is that if you're worshipping Mukunda unreservedly, then you don't have an obligation to many other things. But in a worldly sense, people may not understand that. Therefore, he didn't deny them the opportunity to go and participate in such an activity. However, there was one disciple who was a brahmachari, and his mother was dying. And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told him that you go home, for the last days. And he said, yes, Maharaj. And then he went and hid in his room. And he didn't come out until later. His mother had passed away, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta found out. He was surprised. He asked him, I said to go, why didn't you go? He said, I understand, but if I'd gone, my mother on her deathbed would have said, you please manage all these properties. And I would have had to give up my service to you. And therefore, I didn't go. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta didn't disapprove of that. So in the principle, you have to weigh it out according to the circumstance. You have to look at it. It's not a complete stereotype, and we're not robots. We have to look at the situation and see what's the best overall to balance the situation for service and surrender. And we may be asked to do things that we don't want to do, like Priyavrata. Yes, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. I think as you are answering, guys, one question came to my mind, which was recently asked, basically two. Lord Brahma, we are studying in the Bhagavad Gita, also in 8th chapter, 1,000 ages of all equal to 1 day for Brahma. And Brahma sleeps 12 hours and awakens 12 hours. So why it is human being, Prabhupada says, to sleep 6 hours. And they should cultivate more spirituality. And why Brahma has to sleep 12 hours being as a guru? So, and after you answer, I'll ask the second question related to that. So,
Okay. If I get the first question answered right, then you'll ask the second question. that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has pointed out a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says that one shouldn't feel free to imitate great controllers. They may do so many things. For instance, Lord Shiva swallowed an ocean of poison. And sometimes people think, well, Shiva, he drank poison. Also, some idea about ganja. So let me try it too. But as an insignificant living entity, if you smoke ganja, you'll be finished. Means your spiritual life will become distorted and your whole life will become non-productive. So similarly, we can't drink poison, and there's a way in which we don't take those particular items and then just imitate. So we have to be careful about that. And besides, Prabhupada didn't just say strict 6 hours. He said take as much rest as you need to be refreshed. So in other places he said 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours. Kids, listen to this because your frontal lobe's still growing and you need to have enough rest. So you have to have enough rest to get refreshed. It doesn't mean sleep in past sunrise. It means go to bed earlier. It doesn't mean stay up late and look at video games and then yeah, I needed the rest. But we have to yuktahara viharasya. We have to take what we need to be balanced. Prabhu, if I got the first answer right, then I'll take the second.
Yes, Prabhu, perfect. So the second one in relations to that, when the demon like Hayagriva, when he stole the Vedas, it is said that when Brahma was sleeping, he stole it. But when it is mentioned in the previous statement, when Brahma sleeps, everything is annihilated. So how come one demon is still alive?
And that's a very technical question, and we can research it if you wish to find out the particulars of that. Maybe there's some specific commentary about it, but I don't wish to answer that, in a speculative way. We can see if anything's been said about that. Just the rhythm of Brahma's sleeping, and then, when those were taken. Usually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or somebody else rectifies those kinds of gaps. So it takes a little looking into. But there's nothing in Prabhupada's books about that specifically. Research project will look it up for you, okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes.
You're welcome. But I see Vaikuntha Nayaka Prabhu wants to say something. Oh, and I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I can wait. One Mataji had raised her hand before.
Yeah, sorry, I just looked up at the screen, didn't see. Please go ahead.
Hi, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In the story when you talked about the guru, devotee, and mother, sorry, the names didn't register in my head, and so the devotee didn't abide by the guru's instruction that go see your mother. But then I was wondering, why didn't he go see the mother and then deny her request of not looking after, sorry mom, I can't look after the property because I want to be in this. Why he went to deny his guru's instructions than his mother's instructions?
Well, maybe you can answer better than me. Are you Indian?
Yeah.
So how would it go for you? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was like, okay, I understand. The connection with the family is very strong. It's very entangling. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We say that there is Mata, Pita, Guru, God. At least it's like mom, dad, and your teacher, and God is the order of the things that you give respect. That comes in the Indian culture a lot. Is that what he went by, or it just came to my head?
Well, Guru means one who represents Krishna. So let's say Hiranyakashipu, he was Pitta, but he wasn't really a great representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prahlad basically just kind of ignored him. He said, what'd you learn in school? It's like, I learned that hearing and chanting about Krishna, Vishnu is really good. And it's like, ah! So just rubber stamping and saying a particular entity is the guru is not Krishna's idea. In fact, even those in the varnas and ashrams, they're not in name only. Chaturvanya maya shrishta guna karma vibhagasha. There's a way in which it's the activities and the qualities of a person that qualify him or her as guru. So let's say a person is mostly interested in you getting entangled in the material life and says, all this stuff, this chanting, all these regulations you're following, no onions, garlic. This is, come on. It's too much. It's too much to ask. Sarvadharma parityajya, too much to ask. This can be the mood. Like, we like Krishna too, but, don't get carried away. But that's not what Krishna says. Krishna says, do get carried away. He said, jump in. Feel free to just jump in. And Narada says it also. Tyakvasa dharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajana bhakvota tatet pato yadi yatra kwa vabhadram abuda mushakim kovarta apto bhajatam sudharmata. If you forsake your worldly duties for the sake of following Krishna, then you're not going to be at a loss because you get your forward progress counted. Whereas if you follow your worldly duties perfectly, but you don't ultimately surrender to Krishna, then what did you get at the end? Nothing. So again, it's not stereotype. We're not saying do one thing or another. I was giving these nuances to show that you have to take on a case-by-case basis, and it's good to have guidance in it also. And for the case I gave, I know it's dangerous to give such cases, but we have to see that there's a tacit understanding between guru and disciple oftentimes. And if that story sometimes is given in context of understanding what is a topmost disciple. So this is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. There are 3 kinds of disciples. One is one that knows what the guru wants already, anticipates it, and then does it before it's asked. The second one is asked and then does it. Third one is asked and does it reluctantly. And the fourth one is asked, this is the one that's not actually a disciple, and then doesn't do it. And there are many nuances to those also, but the attitude is what's most important. And if one is in tune with serving one's guru, then one may have this, by Krishna's grace, an understanding of I know what the guru wants me to do, even before the guru says it. And so in the case of that brahmachari, there's other context to it because of them living together and him, the disciple, hearing many instructions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and also seeing other cases that he did that. It's not just in isolation. So one has to dedicate oneself to having a finely tuned sense for what is my duty and how to follow it properly. And we have to keep coming back to that. Thank you for your important and very penetrating questions. And there was Vaikuntha Nayaka Prabhu.
Yeah, Dandavat Pranam, Guru Maharaj. Actually, I had a comment and a question. And the comment was about the point that you mentioned, that how living entities have the desire to choose an authority. And there was also the purport which talked about hero worship. And it's so relevant. It's so relevant that it's so relevant in the
Kumbh Mela.
Kumbh Mela. Sorry. Currently, the home state where I come from, Karnataka, is going through a major chaos, a period of mourning, because one of the actors of the film industry passed away just yesterday, an untimely death. He was just 46 years old, and There are scores, lakhs of people out there on the streets, mourning, banging their head and crying, weeping, getting shocked. Um, he literally had a demigod status in Karnataka. And I was just thinking how if you don't know who the real authority is, you end up choosing one of these, either a spokesperson or a movie star, as the god, and you end up surrendering to him. Right? I was thinking it was so tragic that they have the mood of surrender, but it's directed to a wrong person. Right? So
That
that
was
was
MP or something like that? Huh?
no, it's a
Karnataka State, it's an MP there? An actor. I see, an actor.
an actor in the
Yeah.
Kannada, the vernacular movie industry, film industry. He
Sure.
passed away, and yeah, so I was thinking about that, and
I'm
there
sorry
is
to hear
a
it. I offer my
purport.
condolences. And, sometimes also we see that Krishna has invested some kind of opulence in somebody. We see the ability in man, and therefore, people aren't like that ordinarily. They're empowered to some degree, but I understand we have to have some context. And anyway, please go ahead. You had a question also.
Yes, the question was more on this point that you mentioned about this story, and I know you have already talked about it, but if you could just elaborate a bit more, because I heard one similar pastime between Srila Prabhupada and Tamil Krishna Maharaj as well. I'm not sure if I fully recollect it, but I believe Prabhupada was asking the Maharaj to go to China or something, and the Maharaj was protesting against that, and he said, "No, I can do better here." And he paraded in front of Prabhupada Damodar party, brahmacharis, and Prabhupada said, "Okay, yeah, this is good. You stay here." Something in those lines, right? So. Actually, we hear that the Guru's order is sacrosanct and it's the topmost. But yet we also hear these instances where actually the disciple is apparently going against the Guru, but like you said, he knows the mood of the Guru and he does as per that. So the question was how we can check for ourselves whether it is my mind which is coming up with these oppositions to following my Guru's order, or is it really that inner mood to serve the higher purpose, like that? Could you give some
Sure.
directions on how
Well,
to
first of all,
identify one?
Tamal Krishna Maharaj did go to China, and that's why there's a Chinese Krishna consciousness movement.
Later.
He went there in earnest. You also have to understand Tamal Krishna Maharaj's personality. Prabhupada engaged many types of people, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj was a very assertive type of person, and very, strong leader in that case. And he had a long history with Prabhupada in different ways, even when he wanted to take sannyas, and Prabhupada said, "No, not now," and he sat outside Prabhupada's door for 3 days. So different types of people interact with the Guru in different ways, and the Guru is expert at engaging different kinds of people. It's not like everybody's the same. Some people are very sensitive, and other people, they're very assertive, and so forth. So Prabhupada dealt with all kinds of people. Some people came to Prabhupada and he saw them and said, "You take initiation first, second, and sannyas right now," because he could understand their nature. And, other people who said, "Not right now," and they said, "Okay." And the other people said, No, I want to do it now," and so forth. But in the ultimate issue, Tamal Krishna Maharaj did go to China, and he was a strong personality. He He had a sense. Strong personalities and leaders often have a sense of what they want to do and what they should do. But it was all in the spirit, ultimately, of trying to serve Srila Prabhupada. So your question is, how do I understand whether I'm just making it up in my mind or not? And we have to have a robust guidance system. That sounds like something technological. We have to have ample guidance in our lives, and from various sources. It means that, of course, you should consider the instruction that comes from the Guru very carefully. As I was about to say earlier, Priyavrata was sitting with Narada Muni in a perfect situation, which was, I don't have anything else to do now except Krishna consciousness. Sound good? Yes. Yeah, you're in the right place then. So then someone came along and said, no, we want you to be temple president. And more than that, GBC. And it's like, get out of here. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take on managerial responsibilities. I want to sit here with my guru and chant Hare Krishna. So his father came, then Brahma came. And it took a little bit to tell him that, you should do this. And he's like, this is what I had in mind. It's like, this is what we have in mind. And when he got ample instruction from both his father, who was a Manu, and also from Brahma himself, who also came, because, they all rode in on a big, what are those, Suburban, GMC Suburban, brand new. It's like, it's impressive, and they come out, it's like, no, this is the will. This is what we really want you to do. Then he said, okay, I'll do it. And they also told him that, you won't be affected in a worldly way. Of course, he was for some time, but then he was able to come out of it. That's another point. But you'll find, as you read the Bhagavatam, that there are various circumstances in which devotees interact with Krishna and the gurus and the authorities, and they come to a conclusion. So just because somebody has a particular personality, anyway, to your question, you should have good guidance from mentors who can help you triangulate in various situations. If you have a question, you go to several people that are in sync, so that you can understand how should I serve my guru in this circumstance? How do I execute this order in the best way? I mean, one of the quintessential examples of this is in Arjuna, when Draupadi wanted, at first, he promised Draupadi that when we catch Ashvatthama, such a scoundrel for killing all the sleeping sons, and when we catch him, I'm personally going to, chop his head off for you. And then you can take your bath standing on his head. Kshatriya talk. So then, when he finally caught him, Draupadi changed her mind. She said, wait a minute, I don't want his mother to suffer like I suffered, so let's not do it. Besides that, he's a Brahmin. And Bhima is saying, what are you talking about, Brahmin? He's no Brahmin, he's a Brahmin in name only. You have to kill him, Arjuna. So there's these two sides, and they're diametrically opposed to one another. Get used to it. That's how the world works. It's not like, oh yeah, I understand what to do. There's always these two sides. So then Arjuna looks at Krishna, and Krishna, actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said Krishna was standing there, but he had to manifest an extra two arms to keep the two sides from attacking one another, because they were so vehement about their cause. That each had his or her own cause. And so then Krishna looked at him and sort of slightly smiled, like, partly, you have to figure this out, and also you've got this. And he empowered him with the intelligence that, okay, there's a way to cut down the middle. He cut off the jewel from his hair, which disempowered him in society forevermore, well, until he becomes the next Vyas. He's still on the planet. And it effectively kills him socially, but there's no injunction, he said, for killing the body. So he figured out. So we have to be finely tuned. That's why we follow 4 regulative principles. If you break the 4 regulative principles, you'll become stupid. And you can't figure these things out. That's a problem. And if you don't chant good rounds, also, you won't have that fine discretion and be having buddhi yoga. Like, buddhi yoga partly is, who should I ask to figure this out? And you should have a clear idea. Like, okay, I know who I can trust, and I know the kind of answers they can give authoritatively if I ask. And you can consider those things before you swing the sword and say, this is what I'm going to do. That's the way to get through life. Okay, we have Radha Kripa and then Sundarananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, just to build on Vaikuntha Nayak Prabhu about the heroes, there is also another parallel things going on in India. Is one of the famous actor, his son was caught taking drugs, and the way the media is projecting as if, this is 24 hours news cycle is cycling the same news for last maybe 25 days. And he got released yesterday. And now he was given a welcome as if a hero has won a battle, like a big war. And actually, and I was just actually reflecting on that one, how, if you don't have the right authority, if you don't have any right way, you will lean on to that, I shouldn't use the word, wrong word, but it was so disgusting to even see that, when people watch, they think, I wanted to be like him because you wanted to be rich. If you're rich, you can do anything. Even if you have been drug addicts, you will get a hero welcome. So the way the society is dealing, and I was thinking about Prabhupada, I was just thinking about, how he has, without making any noise, just because the simple purity, he changed that, the perception in the people's mind that there's something more important and much better to offer than the reckless following, which I think Vaikuntha Nayak Prabhu was referring. So I just thought to share that.
Sure, we heard that earlier in this canto, Shwavid Vadahoshta Karai Samstata Purusha Pasu Nayat Karnapato Peto Jatanama Gadagraja. That men who are like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the glories of Gadagraja. There it is. It's right in the Bhagavatam. So that's a kind of a painful situation to watch when people are sort of misaligned and misguided as far as hero worship goes. We have Sundarananda Prabhu, and then we have... Oh, that's Aniruddha Nitaicha. I can't tell. He's on the Federal Witness Protection Program. Okay, Sundar Prabhu, go ahead.
Prabhu, as you were mentioning the pastime with the Pandavas on Ashwatthama with Lord Krishna, I was reminded another pastime from Ramayana, where Lord Rama is he's actually along with the Vanaras, he wants to cross the ocean to Lanka, and so he gets two diametrically. So he asks the suggestion from his followers, and especially Vibhishan says that he should sit in meditation and request the ocean god to give him a pathway. And then he gets a diametrically opposite suggestion from Lakshmana, who says that, what are we waiting for? Let's just evaporate the whole ocean and then cross to Lanka. And then the Lord actually beautifully handles it, these two diametrically opposite suggestions, by saying that first I'll follow Vibhishan's suggestion, and if nothing comes out of it, then I'll follow Lakshmana's suggestion. So just thought of sharing that.
Yeah, these are important examples to study so we understand the nuance of it. And Aniruddha Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for the nice class. Prabhu, I was just thinking another aspect of that same example you gave about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his disciple. That and the aspect is his disciple was going there and was offered all this kind of properties and all. It might have been difficult for him to leave those and come back. So on the same aspect, my question is about like these kind of conflicts, like when it happens, especially in the level of like my seniors or gurus. So how to kind of deal with them effectively, like where there are conflicts of orders and I'll have to choose one, probably not the other.
I think that's what we're talking about. And I think that's what I'm saying is you should have a clear idea of your priorities and those who will help to fine-tune those priorities for you. So when conflict from your life comes in from various types of entities, like, you know, your parents tell you to do something, it's different from what your guru asked you to do or what the Shastra says to do and so forth. Then some of them are more straightforward than others. Then you have to figure it out. I mean, again, we're just giving more and more examples. Raghunath Das Goswami, his parents were kind of like, you know, don't get carried away. This whole thing, you know, spiritual life is nice, but, you know, hey, relax. They gave him a beautiful wife. He had a trust fund. He could have just cruised the rest of his life and been a zamindar. But he wanted to join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so when he went to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Shantipur, Mahaprabhu told him, don't be like a mad person. Just tolerate for now. The time isn't right. Sometimes the timing isn't right. I mean, this even happens with the devas. They come and say, there's been a transgression, we have to fight back. And Vishnu comes and says, not now. Now you have to make an armistice. That's why the churning of the ocean took place, because Vishnu said, it's not going to work right now, no matter what you do. So you have to make a pact with the demons. Make a pact with the demons? That sounds outrageous. Like, why should we do that? We're against them, right? So cooperate now. Later on, you'll have some opportunity. I'll intervene. So timing is another thing. And then other nuances have to do with service. When Govinda, whose service it was every day to massage Mahaprabhu, just after lunch prasadam. Mahaprabhu, to bring out this pastime, walked back to his hut, and then apparently in fatigue, he laid across the doorway. So Govinda was perplexed. What should I do? Because in order to come in the room to do my service, I'll have to step over Mahaprabhu's transcendental body, and that's an offense. So he asked Mahaprabhu, could you please move just a little bit so I can come in and do my service? Mahaprabhu said, I'm too tired. I can't move an inch. So you do or whatever you want. And then he went to sleep. And then Govinda took his chadar. There's an executive decision. And he put the chadar over Mahaprabhu, and then he stepped over. Offense, right? So then he did his service. But his other duty was, right after doing the massage every day, he would go take his prasad so he could be ready for next things. And it's, you know, it's a service to take prasadam anyway. So Mahaprabhu woke up. He saw Govinda sitting there. He's like, what time of the day is it? He told him, he said, how come you haven't gone to take your meals yet? He said, I couldn't get out because I'd have to step over you. And Mahaprabhu said, well, how'd you get in? And he didn't even answer, except mentally he said that for serving you, I would make an offense. But for serving my own self to go take my meals, I won't make the offense. So I stayed here. And so that's a call you have to make sometimes. That's also a nuanced way of thinking. You have to consider these things. And we have examples. That's why we give the examples. We have to see there's many different circumstances and different kinds of people. And, and these things will come up for you. So you have to take heed of the various examples and instructions that come from Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so forth. Yes, Prabhu. And then we have Devavrata.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Such a wonderful class and also question and answers. When you were talking about Ashwatthama, you mentioned that there was a conflict and it's resolved, and then later in Mahabharata, I read that Ashwatthama is cursed for 3,000 years. He'll be smelling, and then he'll go to higher regions. You said something that he was somewhere, so could you?
Yeah, it's in 12th canto. He stays around until the next Satya Yuga, and he becomes the next Vyas. So see, you could be optimistic, no matter how bad you blow it. If you hang in there, you can be rectified. In fact, Supadamulam bhajata priyasya tyaktanya bhavasya hare priyeshaha vikarma yat shot patitam katanchid tunoti sarvam hridi sanivishta. Even if you do some vikarma, make a really bad choice, misstep, somehow, if you go on performing your devotional service, then eventually it'll be rectified, because Krishna's in the heart if you're sincere. Anyway, it's known, it's in the 12th canto. It's just kind of a startling factoid, but there it is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Devavrata Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I'm really appreciating this conversation, because I noticed as I grow and try to mature in life, more often than not, you're put into a situation like Arjuna with dealing with Ashwatthama. And I was just reflecting how 5-6 years ago, when I first was reading that pastime of the Bhagavatam, I was like, what is going on here? But as I go through life, I've noticed that I'm put in that situation more than I'm put in a black and white circumstance. And so I was appreciating the point about being finely tuned, because Arjuna was finely tuned, he knew how to deal with the situation. But if we're not finely tuned, we can make a big mistake. And so I was just thinking of the verse where it talks about how spiritual life is like walking the razor's edge. And generally we're dealing with situations where we're dealing with a razor's edge, has been my experience in life. And I was just appreciating this conversation, because the more we're aware that these are circumstances we can undergo, the more inspiration we can get to be finely tuned in order to deal with them properly.
Yes, thanks for reiterating the point. It's Krishna consciousness means to have finely tuned consciousness. And how are we finely tuned? In the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you become conscious of me, you'll cross over all the obstacles that come in your life. And if you're not conscious of me, then you're going to make a bloody mess. So be fine-tuned and be aware of Krishna's will. And how do you do that? Follow the 4 regulative principles, chant 16 rounds, and associate with devotees who are in good stead. Because by association and good guidance, we can make our way through any kind of difficult situation. So make sure you're fortified. That's helpful. Any other reflections or questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was just wondering, in our lives we see a lot of people who are really close to us, but they have strong interest in spirituality, but then somehow by association or social connotations of how spirituality is boring, they take other means such as drugs or shortcut to lot of other things are out there. I was just wondering if and there is no way that they can listen to us or listen to what we talk about God. Is there a generic way of approaching them?
Yes. You have to have a Hare Krishna festival. Hare Krishna festivals are the answer, because everyone likes parties. And that's why they try to find parties elsewhere. Only most parties in the material world have the wrong elements, because they're in the modes of passion and ignorance. They want to dance, but the kind of dancing they do doesn't liberate. It actually gets you more entangled. The kind of music, wrong music. It's lower modes of nature, and also the kind of intoxication, wrong kind. Huey Lewis said it back in the 1980s. He wrote a song, "I Need a New Drug." I wrote about that. He listed, I don't want a drug that has all these side effects. So the kind of parties generally that are in the lower modes of material nature that people are attracted to, they don't really want it. That's why everyone's singing about it. They, the anthem for the rock and roll people of the world is from an artist who said, "I can't get no satisfaction." And everyone said, "Yeah, I can't either. Yahoo! Let's keep trying." But so Hare Krishna festivals are different because you have everything that you're looking for. Have really nice dancing. You know those summer nights when we're down at the Lytton Plaza? It's Plaza, right? Mm-hmm. Lytton Plaza. And then all the devotees are lined up in there, and they're just actually hearing the name, and they're dancing like anything. You see people come by and they go like, "God, I want to do that too. I want to dance like that." The dancers, by the way, they come to the Harinams and they dance their hearts out. They're like doing the greatest service to dance like that. That's really important. And because everyone wants to dance. And then music, you have to have a good tall. Din to nakadina, din to nakadina, din to nakadina, din to nakadina. Because people, why do they... The reason they go to clubs is because there's a beat. If you walk in a club and there's no beat, there's like boom, 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 everyone's like, it's just quiet in here. We don't want to be in here. That's what keeps them in there, and that's why they're buying drinks is because like the boom, 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 So if you have the same beat, din to knock it, because you're getting it, din to knock it, then there's this tall going. People want a tall. They want some rhythm. And they want to have like interactions, friendships, they want to hang out and talk. So people go to festivals or they go to, clubs and parties and things like that. It's like, "Hey, what do you think?" It's like, "I don't know. What do you think?" So, "I don't think much at all." "Neither do I." It's like, that's really interesting. However, if you go and you find interesting people who are friendly and they have something kind of meaningful to say, then it's like, wow, that was nice. And then food, that's where it all really starts. If you bring food out, any living entities, like the ants will show up. It's like, yeah, it's on top of there. Let's go. Let's make a ladder. And they come up there to try to get the food. And so if you have good food, everyone will come. And they don't care who you are. They don't care what culture you're from or what you're preaching or anything like that. Food is food. And that's the way, the way to the heart is through the belly. So prasadam and nice samosa. You have samosa, you have sweet rice, you have really nice cauliflower sabji with cashews and curd. Hope I'm not making anybody hungry. But at Sunday programs, and in the old days, in the Hare Krishna temple, 11 preparations. I was just talking to my godbrother the other day. He's an expert cook. He was an expert cook in ISKCON, and then he also got trained in Mayapur by Anand Maharaj, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, who was training some of the... And he's working right now with some other devotees, Kurma and Apurva. They're working together on a cookbook like Hare Krishna recipes that came from Prabhupada. So when the prasadam's like, wow, where did this come from? Another planet. Samosa, sweet rice, sabji, and puris, and things like that. Then people, they become immediately attracted. So we have to have festivals. Like the one we're having at Lytton Plaza, only should be all over the place. Small ones, you can have 3 people have a festival. Then you have to have medium-sized ones. Ours are sort of medium-small at Lytton Plaza. Then you have to have really big ones. Like you get a whole park and fill it up with exhibits, things for people to look at. And then they'll come and they'll appreciate that there's something forming here. So if you just sit them down and say, like, you know, you're really blowing it and got it all wrong, you have to give a positive solution, and that means all these elements. So that's what Lord Chaitanya did. He went around and he just had big festivals. Hare Krishna, and come in and take prasad. Everybody eat and dance. And then when you get tired, sit down and take prasad. Then get up and dance some more. And that's life. And then you're happy.
Thank you, Maharaj.
More festivals. Kanka's going to corroborate this. I know she is. Okay, time to go.
Also, for the kids, they can bring their friends here. This is a beautiful place, and the Sunday feast is so much fun with all the dancing and the prasadam, and we have all these temples all over the world that are just ecstatic.
Fun for the whole family.
Fun for the whole family.
Okay, yes, Charles. You can stay there. We'll bring it to you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So yeah, I have one brief reflection and then one question. So the reflection is that it was mentioned the Lord can be or is different in all circumstances. And to me, this sounds like a call to really open my ears, my eyes, my heart to be able to notice when the Lord's choosing to reveal himself to me and understand the messaging. And so the question is, how do we, be careful to not, to distinguish between what the Lord is revealing to us, and not conflate that with maybe our own internal communications or plans that we have for ourselves?
Yeah, excellent question. So there's 3 points of reference. And when you put 3 points on a page, then you're going to be able to draw a line through it that's straight, or at least 2, and you'll get a straight line, right? Geometrist. So there's what's called Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So Guru is somebody who's deeply in the practice and also has a lot of experience, who's heavy with experience that you can take shelter of and take guidance from. And there can be more than one guru, instructing guru, to help you with that. And then means sadhu. Sadhu means the very advanced practitioners. What did they do? What's the history? What are they doing now? What do they say? And then there's Shastra. Shastra means what's there in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. If you put those all 3 together, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then you can look and see, is what I'm thinking and seeing lined up with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, these 3 things. So it goes back to this culture of guidance. We're basically swimming in an ocean, blind, and we get our vision through this guidance system, through these 3 levels of guidance to help us across the ocean. So that's the best way to align yourself and understand, am I imagining this, or is this something that is coming from inspiration, spiritual inspiration that's genuine? Does that help? Okay, you're welcome. Now we're going to have one more question, and then we have a very short break, and then we'll continue with the program.
Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful question and answers and the talk as well. So my question is that how to develop this maturity that people are different, they have different needs, and and not to judge them, because it seems from the discussion that it all depends on the intention. Because I also seen many times observing people, it may seem that they are not doing the right thing, but then over a period of time, when I observe them, they actually are their intentions were rightly situated in serving the authority. So how do you actually how do we actually how does one get this maturity That
maturity, you can't buy it. You actually have to be there, and there's a way in which maturity comes over time. You make mistakes, you rectify them. Mistakes aren't bad. They're as long as you rectify them, because then they become, as Prabhupada says, the pillars to success. He says this in the light of the Bhagavatam, that mistakes may not be detrimental. They may become the pillars to success in your practice. So if you're looking at a mature person, you're likely looking at a person who's made a lot of mistakes, but kept going and rectified them. And there's no replacement for maturity. When you see a mature person, you kind of know it. It's like, wow, this person's been there, and they have a track record, and they've been in it for a long time, and they've been through things that I may take it from the Veda base, but I wasn't there. So it's like the difference between reading about Hawaii from a book and then meeting a person who just got off a plane and they smell like the beach. And they still have sand in their shoes. It's like, well, what's it like? And it's like, well, I'll tell you what it's really like. And also, we should reserve judgment. Don't be quick to judge people, because it's easier to be accommodating. I mean, it makes it easier in life in general to be accommodating, and unless you absolutely have to make decisions because that's your duty at a particular time. And even then, be careful. Try to get as much information about a person's motive and why they did something as possible before you make an ultimatum. In fact, don't make ultimatums. It's a good rule. Make an ultimatum, not to make any ultimatums. Because oftentimes what it does is it paints us in a corner, and then we don't have the wherewithal after that, or the liberty, I should say, to deal with the situation in a nuanced way. So you have to be careful not to just jump to a conclusion about a person or a situation and say, that's it then. Wait. Or try to ask more questions and get more information. Something Stephen Covey talks about is very important. He said, seek first to understand why somebody did it. I mean, you may not know. Somebody may have been accused of a crime that seems heinous, but then you might find out the circumstances. Actually, it could change everything when you find out about, well, actually it was an aberration in the law. They accidentally did something, and then they went to jail for it, and then you look at the person quite differently than if you generically paint them as a seasoned criminal. So be careful. And also don't take sides right away. When you see kind of arguments going on amongst Vaishnavas, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur says, don't take sides. Don't go in there. And it's like, yeah, and then start charging in with a torch and then burn things. You wait, and unless it's your duty to come in, and then be very careful. So now we're going to take a 4-minute break, and there'll be other activities right when we come back. Vanchakalpadrishya kripasinabheva patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Krishna kirtan ganana tana pano premamritam manidhi dhira dhira jana priyau priyakarau nirmasaram pujitau Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhuvi Bhuva Bharavahantarakam Bande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Sri Jiva Gopalakam Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tana Paro Premamritam Banidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyam Priyakaram Nirmasaram Pujitam Nana Shastra Vicharanayika Nipunam Sadharma Sanghastapakam Lokanang Hitakarinam Tribhuvane Mannam Saranyakanam Nana Shastra Vicharanayika Nipunam Sadharma Sanghastapakam Lokanang Hitakarinam Tribhumane Mannam Saranakaram Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajananandina Matvalikam Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Sri Jiva Gopalakam Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tana Param Premamritam Banidhi Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhuvi Bhuva Bharavahantarakam Bande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Sri Jiva Gopalakam Sri Gauranga Gunanuganana Vidhau Sadhyasamidharnitam Papatrapanikantana tanabhitam Govinda Gana Amritayi Sri Gauranga Gunanubanana Vidhau Sadhyasamidharnitam Papatrapanikantana tanabhitam Govinda Gana Amritayi Anandambudibardhanayi Kanipunam Kaivallaniswarakam Bande Rupa Sanatana Raghujagam Sri Jiva Gopalakam Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tana Param Premamritam Panidhi Akvato Namase Samannalapati Saning Sadatu Chama Bhutvadina Ganesakam Karnaya Kopina Kanthasitau Takvatu Namase Samannalapati Saning Sadatu Chavat भूत्वादीन गणेश करुणया कोपी न कंठासितो गोपी भावरसामृताभिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नोन्मुहो वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजुगं श्रीजीव गोपाल को कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परों प्रेमामृतं बनिधि कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परों प्रेमामृतं बनिधि जत कोकिलहंस संसार सुगन कीर्न मयूराकुले नाना रत्न निवा
So we'll start Damodarashtakam in approximately 10 minutes. Today is a memorial service, and I'm waiting for Sachinanda Nimai to come. So until then, we're going to have a little kirtan, and then when Prabhu comes, I'll say a few words in memory, and then we'll dedicate the Damodar Ashtakam to Gauri. So now let's sing. Haribol. It's the Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama Hare Hare Go Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Sai Gaur Hari Bo
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare
Dear Srila Prabhupada and the Acharya Sampradaya, all the great devotees, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Lakshmi Nrsimhadev, please let our heartfelt desires today on this memorial service for Gauri be heard by you and highly effective. Om Tat Sat. In the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Bhagavad Gita, we hear how the material life is temporary. We're only passing through. Of course, it's hard to envision that because we interact with the world as if we're always here and always going to be here. However, Krishna says in the Gita that we have to develop the eyes of knowledge to see how we're only temporarily inhabiting this body and we're moving from one place to the next. And of course, even though we know these things and we've been trained in them and we're endeavoring to see them at all times, when someone in our community who's beloved to us departs, then we feel many emotions. And it's important as a community to process those emotions together. The example we have is Lord Krishna himself. After Kurukshetra, you'll find in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that he gathered together with all those who were aggrieved, not the least of which was Yudhishthira. Yes, great souls also grieve for circumstances in this world beyond their control, but the way that they come to terms with them and find closure is by taking shelter of Krishna and also having some ceremonial close, which gives everyone a sense of context for what's happening. So a memorial service, especially here in Krishna consciousness in our community, is meant for a collective understanding and prayer so that we can understand, according to Shastra, what has happened and also address the feelings that we're having of grief and also somewhat of confusion, like what just happened. So we're here today to celebrate the exceptional, very brief sojourn of Gauri in the world, and also pray to keep her close to us. Every opportunity, we're open for business here, that she can come right back in and take up where she left off, if Lord Krishna so desires. And so I'd like to hear a few words from Sachinanda Nimai, Prabhu. In fact, we all would love to hear from you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. First of all, thank you so much. I'll try to be strong. So, I'd like to thank Vaisesika Prabhu and Grace Nirukla Mataji for being the backbone. It's been 3 months, and I think almost we're getting into the 4th month now. So it was definitely traumatic, and it was, I won't even call it a roller coaster ride, because in a roller coaster ride you go up, but I would call it Andakupam, that you get in and you don't know where the end is. So it was definitely a life-changing event where everything is now upside down. But I think the miseries which comes in our lives, makes us strong, and the prayers goes more strong, the exploration goes more strong. Well, the state of mind I got in recent, where just if there is Krishna, and I want to definitely know more about Krishna, and it's not just to the level of knowing Krishna, but to the level of realization, where the impulse of going to Krishna is so strong. It can't be expressed in words, surely. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have so many examples. We have the example of the sparrow who kept asking, who fought with the ocean to get the eggs back. I think we fought too. And couldn't get the eggs back. But I'm sure Krishna would listen, and she'll be back. Some water. So, my request to devotees is, yes, we want good for the soul, but at this point in time, my only prayer to Lord is, please give her back. And please give her back as a daughter. And most likely, I hope by prayers, we hope that Krishna would listen and he would be able to bless us with Gauri back again, serving ISV community and Srila Prabhupada. Because I was talking to Vaisesika Prabhu, we have different examples in Bhagavatam where devotees have reacted differently. There is one example of Draupadi where the 5 sons were killed, and then the other example comes where Punardat was lost, the Sandipani Muni's son. It's for me and for our family, it's tough to be at the level of Draupadi. We request, if so Krishna desires, you definitely hope that the life is repaired, and it's a unheard event. I have never heard somebody has going through it, and like this is happening to you. Initially get these questions, why me? In one of my counseling sessions, I heard when a pain comes to devotee, he doesn't say why me, he says wow me. So I don't have the courage to say wow me anymore. I used to say that before. So my only request and to devotees is please pray. And also I would like to thank each and every one in the ISV community who came together as life support. I can tell you something. We pray to Krishna and we ask for mercy. We keep questioning where is the mercy. The mercy is the association. So, and in hospital most of the time when they used to ask, do you have enough support? I just had to tell them one thing, just go down and see how many people have bead bags in their hands, and you'll see what kind of support we have. They were so impressed by that, that, I think many of them, they inquired regarding this process. So We had Hare Krishna tape going inside the room. Many of the nurses, they got that groove in their mind and they kept chanting. So I was quite impressed. Wow, this girl can preach in coma. So that was good. So if she's back, she'll be surely do well for the community. So that is my humble request, and I'd like to thank His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, whose guidance came at the apt moment. In these kind of times, I can tell you one incident, definitely it's the glorification of Maharaj. I texted him on one of the things we were kind of very confused on. And I just pinged Maharaj that, Maharaj, is it possible to speak with you? I was not hoping a response actually. He called in 5 minutes. So that day I kind of realized that even if I'm praying in my mind to my spiritual master, he knows what anybody is going through. And his guidance is always so long term. So I did ask him, Maharaj, is it okay to ask? I'm not able to take this from my heart. Is it okay if I can ask Maharaj to Krishna that, Krishna, please give me Gauri back? Maharaj just add if you so desire. So, and then I understood why is he saying if you so desire, because if I don't add it, I'll become Hiranyakashyap, that I need this and I have done certain kind of tapasya to get it back. Or if even Hiranyakashyap would have said if you so desire, he would be with us among now. So, but this is very important. And when I expressed this to His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu, he said this was taught to us by Srila Prabhupada. So even I realized that time that I don't even know, after 18 years in International Society for Krishna Consciousness, that I don't even know how to pray. And after 18 years, the basics are being taught again. So those are a couple of things, and some really good realizations, I think. I'll definitely share at some other time, but I think I would like to thank everyone in the community who prayed, everyone was on the Zoom calls from day one. Prasadam, we get prasadams, we don't even know who cooked. So merciful devotees are. And while we honor the prasadam, it's so detailed. I mean, Prabhupada always said love is in the details. So, and the way the prasadam always came, it's like everything was so detailed. So I can't be thankful enough. I can't ever repay what this community has done. At the time when this happened, I thought, I'll go back to India. I'm done. The kind of way that all the devotees came, I'm so indebted. I can't go back. I have to repay it back. I can never repay it back, but I'll try to serve as much as I can. So I just wanted to thank you. Thanks, Hansri Mataji, for Sakeshwari Mataji, Gandharvika Mataji, all the Prabhus, Sri Mahaprabhu, who took, he took the stone on his head, actually, after everything happened. So thank you, Sri Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu, and Shashi Shekhar Prabhu, and so many other devotees, like Shivas Pandit Prabhu, Shankaranand Prabhu. They practically came. wanted to tell everyone this particular part where Nirukala Mataji practically came every single day for weeks together, driving all the way, making arrangements for Prabhu. So I've practically caused so much discomfort, so my apologies for that, but your help came at the right time, because nothing else would have give us the solace. And when my wife's mother came, and when Nirukala Mataji, we did not see her for quite some time. It's like, and we saw her after some time, the feeling was so motherly, like I could literally see my mother in her. So yes, one thing I can tell surely is philosophies doesn't work at the time of distress. At that point in time when the mind is disturbed, you question everything, but as you grow through it, because you don't go through it, you grow through it. When you grow through it, and then you'll realize that it was philosophy which was the only hook which didn't made you mad. Otherwise, it could have been more devastating. From the bottom of the heart, the thanks comes for Srila Prabhupada for creating a community where everyone is so integral as part of it. Like the concept of soul we have as an understanding is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So that's the first step in spirituality. So if that concept is not there, the similar incident happened just into the next room. It was like a few months old. And I was thinking at that point in time that these people, they don't know the concept of soul. It becomes really tough. So I would thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for giving us this community. Thank you, His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu and Her Grace Nirukala Mataji for nurturing us. Otherwise, the roots can go dry easily unless it's nourished. And then, one of the things when I was speaking with Maharaj, the Maharaj keeps on telling this example in most of the corporate lectures you will hear, the redwood forest. And when I heard it 3 or 4 times, like, oh yeah, I know, so I skip it. I know this part. So this happens, it's just immaturity of my mind. So this part I know, everything is glued, and then he found little seed. But when actually that happens, you understand you are one of the trees at redwood forest, the reason you're not falling. And when you think you are that tree, rather than as a story or a pastime, then you would realize that it's so precious to be that tree who can withstand thousands of years of and I think that's where one who leaves the body in this consciousness would again take rebirth in a devotee family. So goes 1,000 years there again. So, and we have 10,000 years to jointly pass. So thank you everyone for everything. Kindly pray she comes back. I decided not to be very morose, thinking Gauri has left, but joyful, thinking Gauri will be back.
I think just in hearing you the last few minutes, we've got really the essence of Krishna consciousness. And there's I think that this forms the most important part of this process that we're in, or specifically that we're endeavoring for today, to find closure. But hearing your realizations and what you have been going through, and the points that you imbibe from this incident have really touched our hearts deeply. And it was so important for you to come and speak today, what's in your heart, because I think collectively everyone wants to do something in these cases, but we feel helpless, and everyone does what they can. But when we hear from you how you're processing everything, it gives us some sense of relief in that what we can do is be a community and inner supportive. And what touched me the most was what you said about thinking like, okay, I'll just go back to India, but you felt compelled by the love of the devotees that let's stay here. That's so meaningful and powerful. Thank you very much, Sachinanda Nimai Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Pardon me? Do you want to say something? Yes.
Some of what I wanted to share was evident in Sachinanda Nimai's talk, because I did observe how they were able to grow through this most painful process. And all the time that I spent with them, what was best for Gauri was prominent in their minds. That's what made them keep going forward. That's what helped them to make all the decisions. They sought guidance from those with whom they had trust, from their guru. And then not only did they seek that guidance, but they were actually able to follow that guidance. And I really appreciated how much gratitude they showed and how much care they showed while they were going through this process. When I was there, Jai Shri Radhe was always concerned with, did I have what I need? Was I okay? And it wasn't just all about Gauri. She was that way with the nurses, the doctors. They have very big and loving hearts. And no one could imagine the pain that they are feeling, the separation that they are feeling. But they ultimately made that decision because they felt that's what was best for Gauri. And I also was very gladdened to hear you say, Prabhu, that you'll be back. Because we all have to bear the separation from Gauri. But to bear the separation from all of you would be so very difficult. So go to India and do what you need to do, and start the healing, and then come back to us so that we can continue to love and support you and grow with you. Thank you.
So this gathering today is rightly done, as there is a connection that we have to those who are our children, who are also our fellow devotees, and we can express our goodwill, our blessings, and create auspiciousness by a gathering like this, as is recommended in the Shastra. So for this memorial, we're going to dedicate the Damodar Ashtakam prayers, which we all sing from our hearts, to Gauri's successful journey back into her service, and also express any kind of grief we have in singing this beautiful song and the Mahamantra. And then afterwards we have a prasadam feast, which is also the way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed us to memorialize the departure of a Vaishnav. So let us offer our collective prayer. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dear Shri Shri Panchadattva, Shri Shri Radhamanan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please keep Gauri in our association, in her service, so that she can continue enlivening us with her blissful service mood and enthusiasm. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in part or in whole, please say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna!
And now we're going to sing the Damodar Ashtakam and offer a lamp to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Can you set this up for him? Just give me the first note. Namam Vishwaram Sat Chirananda Rupam Vasat Kundarango Puri Vatamani Namam Vishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Vasat Kundarango Puri Vatamani Yashoda Bhiolukala Davumanam Param Nishtamatyanta Todrutya Gopya Yashoda Bhiolukala Davumanam Param Rishtamatyanta Todrutya Gopya Rudantam Rohonitram Pandrajantam Karamboja Yugena Satankanitram Rudantam Rohonitram Yugmandrajantam Karamboja Graivam Damodaram Bhaktivedam Tidrikshva Lila Virvananda Kunde Sagosham Nivajantana Kyapayantam Tidrikshva Lila Virvananda Kunde Sagosham Nivajantana Kyapayantam Adiyeshu Tageshu Bhaktirji Tattvam Puna Prema Tastam Shata Vritti Vande Tadiyeshu Tageshu Bhaktirji Tattvam Puna Prema Tastam Shata Vritti Vande Param Devam Moksham Namashantalinda Nachanyam Vrineham Vare Charapiha Param Devam Moksham Namashantalinda Nachanyam Vrineham Vare Charapiha Inam Deva Purnata Gopala Balam Sarane Manasya Virastam Himanyam Inam Deva Purnata Gopala Balam Sadane Manasya Virastam Himanyam Idam te mukam bhojam jantanina Vritam kundalai snita raktaishta gopya Idam te mukam bhojam jantanina Vritam kundalai snita raktaishta gopya Muhushumbitam bimba raktatadame Pushchumbitam Bimbaratachalange Manascha Virasta Balam Lakshalanai Drishti Vrishyati Dinam Vatanu Grihane Shamamadhyami Dakshi Krishna Kuberatmajao Bhakta Nijay Dhyata Mochitao Bhakti Bhajati Bhaja Kuberatmajao Bhakta Nijay Vidyata Twayam Mochitao Bhakti Bhajati Bhaja Prema Bhaktin Swakam Nipriyascha Namokshe Graho Mesti Damodareha Tata Prema Bhaktin Swakam Nipriyascha Mokshe Graho Mesti Damodareha Namaste Sudame Suraki Sudame Padiyodalaya Krishna Sakame Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Radhe. Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe. Jai Krishna, Jai Krishna, Krishna, Jai Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Shri Harinam Mahamantra ki, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki, Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. So this festival in Kartik is a way of Leela Smarana, remembering a specific pastime of Krishna. In fact, as we sing the song again and again and remember its meaning, which is that Krishna, although he's Ajita, unconquerable by anyone, is conquered by the love of his devotees. And that Yashoda is the emblem of the greatest paternal love. And that in this pastime, Krishna, for his own pleasure, acting in the role of a child, is indignant at his mother's putting him down, and then becomes apparently mischievous by breaking things and running away in fear. And all this, the great learned scholars and sages who study the absolute truth come in amazement and say, how is it that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's beyond the three modes of material nature, the ultimate controller of everything, acts out of fear? In fact, Queen Kunti mentions this, that it's bewildering to see. But then she says, Maya Javani Kachanam Adhat Hoksha Jamam Yayam Nalakshashe Mudadrisha Nato Natya Darodyata. That you're acting as on a stage. And for your own enjoyment, you're playing these various pastimes. So in this pastime, Mother Yashoda runs behind her child, Krishna, and finally captures him and tries to bind him with some rope that's too short by 2 inches. Every time she extends it, it's still short by 2 inches, but then Krishna allows himself to be bound. He's actually being bound by his devotee's love. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam says, in fact, Brahma in the Srimad Bhagavatam says, Stane stita shrutigatan tanuvan manobir ye prayaso jita jito pyasitais trilokyam. And don't try to understand Krishna by any other way except for submissively hearing about him from the bona fide Shastras, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, and worship that vibration. And just by worshiping, by hearing, then the ajita, the unconquerable, becomes jita, or conquered by the love of such a person, because we will develop such love by hearing in the association of devotees. Even while going through the various phases of our lives, we may encounter that the material world is constantly shifting, it seems formidable, but we can even conquer over that by the process of hearing about Krishna and taking shelter of him. All the various reversals of fortune that we have in this life will be understandable to us by the process of hearing from Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So on this day, as we've come together to remember Gauri and the joyful devotional service that she performed in a short amount of time, we can remember also that all of us are here for a short amount of time, and we should take advantage while we have the opportunity. And I love what Sachinanda Nimai Prabhu said, remembering Srila Radhanath Maharaj's instructions over and over again about how important it is for us to stick together as a community. And he does say it almost every time because it's so meaningful to him. He sees the strength that we get by remembering Krishna together and reminding one another to take shelter of this process of devotional service, even amidst the greatest times of grief in our life. And together we will be able to complete an entire lifetime, however long that may be, in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out in great numbers this morning to remember Gauri and offer blessings and prayers. Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande Haribol. And now we have prasadam for the whole county. What are we in, Santa Clara? Santa Clara County? Okay, if anybody's listening, we'll feed everyone in Santa Clara County. And if you have friends in San Mateo County, Contra Costa, tell them to come down because we can feed them all right here. Text them, tell them to come. Haribol. So we have prasadam feast. And would you like to give a couple of very short announcements? No? Just tell where everyone's going today. It's a Saturday, so we should go out, and then we'll take a short, truncated announcement from Bhakti community, from Jai Madhava Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Today we are going for book distribution. There are multiple spots. One is there is a mountain house, Diwali Mela. So devotees are going out there. And then one team is going to Santa Cruz. And there is a team who was going, yesterday went to outside lands. Are you continuing today? Yes. We had a great success yesterday. It's a 3-way festival, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So one team is going to outside lands in San Francisco or outside San Francisco. And we have a team going in Fremont area and then one in Cupertino. So if anybody would like to join, please do. And this weekend, Hansapriya made 2,000 cookies. We have all packed, ready to go. And we will hand them out to you. You can pick it up today. Venudari Prabhu, he has arranged all the boxes, stickers, and everything that you need for you to take it. So please take those boxes. One case of Bhagavad Gita has 24 Gitas, and you'll get 48 cookies. You have a gift wrap, a cover, and everything that you need. So please take them out for tomorrow's Halloween. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. For next 3 weeks, as you know, Vaisesika Maharaj is traveling to UK. So Bhakti community, the classes would continue. We will have other speakers coming in and helping newcomers make progress. As well as Success Sadhana will also continue, and we'll experiment with circle format to see if that resonates with them. Vrinda Mataji has kindly printed 20,000 stickers and bookmarks of Bhakti community. So when you go out, please do add bookmarks and stickers with the books so that it reaches more people. And Communidad Bhakti is continuing strong and steady. 25 members are joining. So in case you come in contact with any Spanish newcomers, please do enroll them in Communidad Bhakti. And Prema Rupa Madhav Prabhu and Prema Rupini Madhavi Mataji are very excited. So please do share with them. Thank you. That was just a quick short announcement.
Hare Krishna. For today's feast and for the pleasure of all the ISV kids, Radha Vallabh Prabhu made veggie pasta and olive and cheese pizza, and Narakula Mataji, Hansapriya Mataji, and many others made pancakes, coffee cakes, waffles, watermelon cookies, fries, and cupcakes. Haribol.
Sharira Vijaya Jyotindriya Karika Jivate Vishaya Sukade Karmati Dipayati Obama Sukumati Kake Jeka Katita Sansara Krishna Bodha Toyamor Gori Bari Chikaja Shaprasha Annadhi Lupa Shayanam Vrita Pao Radha Krishna Gomagao Premedako Sri Chaitanya Shri Chaitanya Gita Bhaktari Govinde Namadari Vaisare Satpunya Patandaje Vishwapurna Jayate Sare Sarvati Kama Namiyashu Vajayate Krishna Cheta Suyashu Vipaya Krishna Ketayupa Buddha Sekanda Charchitaha Utishta Bojino Data Tavamayam Jayamahi Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasad Pancake Prasadam Ki Go Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Please come take prasadam. Haribol.